Right, how are we doing? Hope you're all keeping well. This is just a bit of a drive home grumble, um, basically, um, about this business of rushing all the time. Now, I know everyone doesn't do this, so don't worry, I'm not saying everyone does, but general society, it does. And especially so when driving. It's, the I've just come. I'm a professional driver. I drive for a living, um, so I do get to cover a few miles. Um, and I learned a long time ago that you don't get anywhere any quicker by rushing. There is such a thing as called let's be getting on, and I'm not against let's get on. But then you go into this rush business. And I've just my route that I do. It takes me down a single track road, and there's quite a few passing places. Don't get me wrong. So it's not not that bad. But just tonight alone, I had three cars. Well, I say cars. There were people driving the cars coming the other way, and each time they had to slam their brakes on because they're going too fast. They are going too fast, and they won't even give you a chance to actually try and just move over a bit. The horror on their face that they've had to slow down in the first place, you can see it. I pick it up, I just totally pick it up. And it's like now where I'm driving now, there's slow traffic ahead. Oh, it's a learner driver turning into a side road. So the cars are braking. So there's no need for me to fly up and then slam my brakes on behind because the slower traffic, it doesn't get you anywhere. All you're doing is causing yourself more stress, more anxiety. And that uses energy. We wonder why we're so tired a lot of the time. And, my day's a long day, so I try and conserve my energy. I try and, by not getting, putting myself in situations that get me into that, that state. I'm on my way home now, and I know fine well that, I'm currently doing about 45 mile an hour into 60 zone, and that's just the way the traffic is. There's no point me getting right up behind the car in front because I'm just adding to my stress. My concentration level shoots up. I'm having to focus more instead of just chilling out, relax. I will, all being well, I will get there. I will get home, and it'll be about the same time. In fact, just looking at the clock, I usually arrive home around 5 o'clock at the moment, and I've just been in the office a bit longer than I normally would, just chatting, to be honest. So again, I'll get there. I'll get there, and I don't need to rush because I want to arrive home in a relaxed state. And arrive, rushing, putting my foot down, stressing myself, weaving in the traffic. It really just doesn't. You don't achieve anything. You're only achieving one thing, and that's getting yourself wound up and stressed, raising your blood pressure. So if you catch yourself doing it, just be mindful. Just think about it. Just observe your thoughts, and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I achieving? Am I getting anywhere any faster? No. And the answer is probably no. Have an experiment with yourself. I did this years ago. I'm going absolutely back years ago. I used to do a regular run from up in Teesside down to Plymouth, Plimpton, which is just outside of Plymouth. And it was a one drop load. And I used to get up early because I could get down to Birmingham if everything was going to plan. And I didn't need to rush, by the way. There was options. But I used to get down to Birmingham before 8 o'clock. or just past Birmingham, and then I would run out of driving time or get close to it, you know. So I'd pull in the services and I would have a good break. Now, bearing in mind that I've just missed a lot of that rush hour traffic, and while I'm in the services, I'm missing the traffic. So again, I'm reducing that stress load. Just, you know, just a bit of forward planning, a bit of earlier start, we're doing it. Then I'll get down and get my load done by about 12 o'clock. And then drive back up to, I think I used to get back to Exeter, and then I would park up, because, you know, I'd be getting down on driving time by that, you know, that point. Now, I used to, when I first started doing it, I used to not race, but I used to be flat out, and I'd be trying to beat every car, trying to beat this, beat that, get past this, get past that. And I'd be absolutely shattered, absolutely knackered. And then it was when sat-navs first came out. Well, they were out for a little while, but it was an old sat-nav. In fact, the postcode thing, you couldn't put a postcode in it. You know, you had to manually search. It took ages, and that would give me a time to get back. And it didn't matter whether I drove with that aggressive, you know, let's be getting on, let's rush, I want to get home attitude, or whether I just sat back and just went with the flow. I still got there near enough at the same time. I still arrived back at the same time. But the difference was I arrived back not as tired, not as stressed. So, you know, just ask yourself that, what are you achieving? You know, what are you, you know, because this, you know, I've worked at places where they actually wheel spin. The wheels spin out the yard to get out there. You know, they're in that much of a rush, you know. And I never really understood it, because you don't, you know, you're just making everyone else anxious. You know, flying up and driving with 3 meters between you and the car in front, when if you actually look further down the road, you'll see that you're never going to achieve anything. You know, and all you're doing is causing yourself anxiety and stress, and the person that you're doing it to. You know, you know, it's a kind of, I always think it was a kind of like bullying, really. You know, you're bullying that person to get out of the way. And I'm sorry, but, you know, that's not acceptable, really. It's just not. You know, we're all trying to achieve something. You know, we're all trying to achieve that journey home. And by the way, if you're more mindful and you're more present, you know, that journey won't seem as bad. If your mind is already at the destination point before you arrive, then you're going to go into a rush state. In the present moment, there is no rush. You know, you can't rush in the present moment, because there is no rush. And that, you might have to give that some thought to get your head around that, but it's a fact. And the more that you spend being in the present moment and not in that rush, you're more aware of what's going around you. You know, it's much more pleasurable. Believe me, it's much more pleasurable. You know, I'm as guilty as the next one. Like I've said in the past, I've done that. And you achieve nothing besides making yourself more tired, or, you know, more stress. So yeah, so, you know, just, you know, it's like when you're sat in a traffic jam. I get this of people, and they'll say, you know, God, this traffic's terrible, this traffic's awful. And then I say to them, well, you do realise that you are part of the problem, don't you? And they'll look at you and say, well, what do you mean? They could do something about it. And I said, well, you're sat in it, which means you are part of that problem. You are part of that traffic. I say a problem, but I don't. I'm gonna make a separate video on the word problem, because I think that a problem is only a problem if there's no solution, and a lot of the time there is a solution. So anyway, we'll go into that in a different subject. So yeah, so, you know, but why not reframe and refocus your mind to use that time to be more present, you know, more focused on yourself, and just take note about what you're feeling, how you're feeling, you know, take that time to look around and notice things. Because I'll tell you one thing, you know, you can drive the same route home or the same route to work for many years, and I'll guarantee you there'll be something on that route you've not seen before, you know, or you've not noticed. You know, I'm on a dual carriageway. You can probably see cars around me, you know, in the mirror and coming down the side of me. I'm actually sat behind. There's a few wagons and there's another car in front of me. And we're currently doing just under 60, which that's my speedo, which will be about 58, 56 mile an hour, you know, because that's what wagons do. And, you know, I'm just chilling out, I'm just relaxing. You know, I'm still conscious about what's going on around me. We're coming up to a garage here, you know, a service station type garage where there'll be traffic joining. You know, I'm mindful of that still. You know, I'm always looking to see whether I could get out last minute, and as you could probably see there, I couldn't because there was a small minibus going past. So I'm focused on what I'm doing. Even though I'm talking to you, I'm still focused. I'm not focused on what time I'm going to walk through that door. You know, yeah, I've got things to do when I get home because I have. But my mind's still here. It's still here talking to you. It's still mindful about what's around me. So yeah, so just think about it, you know, because there's only one thing you're achieving out of it, and that is you're damaging your health by being like it. You know, getting upset because somebody has a tractor in front of you. As long as that tractor's going forward, then you're going forward. You know, and I'm not against, you know, if there's a safe opportunity to overtake it, I'm not against overtaking it. You know, I'm not saying that. And again, you know, you come across that slower driver, and yeah, if you start thinking it's annoying, I'm not saying it isn't sometimes, but just be mindful of that thought and then try and reframe it. Because, you know, 60, 70 mile an hour, we've all done it, haven't we, where, you know, that person overtakes how many cars and we get to that next roundabout and there they are. Or they're just pulling onto the drive. You don't achieve anything. You're just stressing yourselves. So anyways, let me know your thoughts on that. I'm sure that'll get a mixed bag of thoughts because, you know, you really have, you know, a lot of things in life, and I'm learning this, is your mental, or not your mental, I shouldn't say mental, but it's your mindset. It's how you view it. You know, it's like in a minute I'm going to be coming off this dual carriageway. It's got a very short runway coming off it, and I've got a van behind me. You'll see it. I'm going to indicate nice and early. I'm indicating well early now because I'm trying to tell that van that I'm going to be going off here and I may have to brake and I'm going to have to slow down a bit. There we go. Now it's moving across, which is fine. Good. See, if I'm mindful and I'm in a state, a good mental, I'm using that word, mental state, but a good mindset, I can think like that and I can give the driver behind plenty of notice that I'm coming off, you know, and then it's down to them to judge that situation, whether they need to back off or adjust what they need to do. And if they're not in that rush panic state, then they're more likely to correctly, you know, make that decision correctly. Yeah. So that's my little, you know, it's not a rant as such. It's my thought, you know, on and again, like I say, all this the mindset, it can be applied to most things in life. Sat in a waiting room, you know, we're all sat in that queue at the shop and you can hear people huffing and puffing because they've got to wait 2 minutes. You know, time is one of the most precious things you have. So make use of that time, make use of that thought, you know, enjoy the journey home. You know, we used to enjoy driving, but I think that's slowly going because of this rush state that we're getting ourselves into. And the reason why we're getting that rush state is because we're fighting for time, we're looking for time. I understand that, that's a different conversation again. But just think, you know, when you start getting agitated about something, start to think, well, why am I doing that? What am I achieving? You know, am I going to achieve anything, or am I just upsetting myself? and then you get home in an upset state, and then it takes time to calm down. It's not good. Not good. You will get there. Believe me. Just take your time. Less accidents too. You know, I'm on a single track road now. I'm just doing 30 miles an hour. I'm going to slow down again because we're coming to a tight few corners. And this is the type of road, you'll probably see it in my mirror, but this is the type of road that I was on about, I was driving on earlier. And those people come far too fast. They're not focused on what's around that corner or what could be around that corner. You know, they're focused on whatever it is they're trying to get home to or get to or trying to do. You know, finish the first job in your head first before you move on. And I'm not against forward thinking, by the way. You know, I'm driving down this road, I'm looking well ahead. You know, I'm not saying that something's going to come around that corner, but if I have it in my mind that something might come around that corner, there could be a horse, there could be somebody walking the dog, there could be a child on a bike, there could be a sheep, there could be a cow in the road. You know, you can't run that through your head every time, but if you're just mindful that that could be the case, you're more likely to react quicker. And if your mind is on what you're doing, you'll regret quicker. In any case, I think I've gone into that enough on that bit of rant. I say a rant, it's not a rant. It's a grumble. I like to call it a grumble. A positive grumble. I always try and, you know, finish anything that I get moaned at quite a lot throughout my day by members of the public. And I always try and spin it into a positive because, you know, there's a lot of things that we they're out of our control. We can't change it. So we can grumble about it, but we can't change it. But we can change the way we have our mindset, the way we think, observe our thoughts, you know, be more aware of others, you know. It's like here, you know, again, a car coming, you know, she can't wait. She's got to force her way through. You know, it's just, you know, yeah. Just stop and wait, you know. Just, yeah. Anyways, we'll leave it there. Take care, guys. You know, if you like the video, please like it. Do comment. I will try and get back to comments if I can. And obviously, subscribe if you'd like to hear me rambling on, you know, or boring you, or, you know, whatever it is. Let me know. Okay, take care, guys. See you later.